Alrighty, so with the last replay, we looked at some Herald 2 position 4 gameplay, and I had my criticisms about that. Now we're going to be looking at carry. Um, and when it comes to like ranking up, I think that I personally did all my I did all my ranking and do all my ranking through support because I think the support role being the true like conductor and the facilitator of like the early game, I think that lets you have a significant amount of impact on the game, and oftentimes more so than carry, in the long haul. But I think it really should be based on like the kind of play style that you prefer, and what comes more naturally to you, and that's what you should focus on. Like when it comes to like ranking up, but when it comes to, so with the support game, I talked about objectives and kind of game plan going into the game. I think like objectives and game plan are different for carry in the fact that like obviously like your game plan is to get as much golden experience as possible, right? Like that's the carry game plan, right? And in general, the game plan that supports have to develop are going to be more robust typically than the game plans that carries have to, because there's more factors that they're going to have to they have to like take into account playing as a support. But with this, in general, like you as the carry, you want the lane in your power pocket. And honestly, at that bracket, like this is still an objective for you, even as the carry, because you're probably gonna have to pull for yourself because your support isn't going to. But when it comes to carry, it's gonna be mostly about taking as little damage as possible while staying in lane and farming, and whether that be through pulling at this bracket or creep aggro to pull the wave back to ensure that you're always farming. That's kind of what I'm thinking about as I'm going into playing in a game as carry. Now, granted, look at this lane, a fucking Jakiro Axe lane. This is going to be pretty tough. Jakiro is one of the strongest laners in the game, and Axe is also equally as strong for the most part. And PA's pretty crap at laning. Coddle can be really good, but we're Guardians, so we have to take that into account. And I say, in general, this is going to be a sustain lane. They're going to want to kill you guys and play hyper aggressively, get kills. I think the game plan for our lane here with our carry, PA Coddle, or our composition, we're definitely going to want to play more sustain and just survive. Because ultimately, if Jakiro Axe aren't getting kills, I think for the most part they're not getting as much out of the lane as they possibly could be. Now, let's look at the starting items here. So, 6 tangos, salve, ward, okay. I like this. Yeah, I think I maybe would have considered getting a Slippers of Agility instead of like a Fairy Fire Iron. Anyway, but like this is okay. I think that for Guardian this is perfectly great. I like the Mango because it gives them basically free hit point HP regen, which is really valuable. Oh wait, that's the Keeper of the Light. Okay, here we go. Okay, yeah, this is honestly probably what I would do. I think in this lane I probably would have ditched the Slippers of Agility and got another set of tangos and an extra branch. But I think depending on, I don't think this is totally offensive. So sorry, ignore I saw the PA here, I saw this, so I kind of got mixed up. Yeah, so again, it's fine. It's good enough for this bracket. Let's just say that. So in this lane, I'm going to want to see a lot of creep aggro and pulling for yourself as the carry when you have to, because I guarantee that you're going to have to. This comes as no surprise. Like, it's a Jakiro Axe lane. Your Guardian, your support's going to be dog shit. That's just how it goes. So let's dive into the player perspective and see what goes on here. The first thing I want to see immediately is some creep aggro. Pull those creeps back. this wouldn't be a thing as much if you had immediately pulled the creeps. If you immediately walked up to the creep wave, you know, get right behind the creep wave, right-click the X, run backwards, this would have drew those creeps back and would have reversed the position of the creeps. So, like, your creeps would have been on their side of the creep wave, and their creeps would have been on your side of the creep wave. And that's important because, in this case, your creeps would have been already attacking the axe. And before the axe gets counter helix, that's kind of a big deal. So I think immediately, right off the bat, if you had done that, this Jakiro would have been getting auto-attacked more. You know, the Jakiro is probably going to get auto-attacked, but he would already be getting auto-attacked, and this axe would be getting auto-attacked by creeps, and they would be getting significantly more punished for making this aggressive play, just by nature of you not immediately pulling the creep wave. Then again, they are diving into the red zone, and this is not a good position for them to be in, so that's fine. I maybe would have liked to see you throw a dagger there. Okay, it was off cooldown. Okay, so that wasn't the worst trade in the world. I think that you could have potentially gotten a kill if you had just literally just pulled back the creeps immediately. But let's see how it goes from here. Okay, so your coddle's griefing you. That's really sad. But hey, what are you gonna do? The other thing I will say is you have to recognize when heroes are strong in the lane, right? And I think at all points during the lane, Axe is strong. He has good stats. He has good just laning abilities. But with Axe, a lot of heroes aren't really augmented too much when they hit level 2. But in the case of Axe, he gets his Hungering Devouration or whatever the hell it's called. What is it? Battle Hunger. And then he's going to spin most likely level 2, right? So that, by nature of him getting spin and him right-clicking you and that causing, your creeps to attack him, that's going to significantly increase your risk of approaching the wave. And I think that as long as Axe doesn't have spin when he's level 1, you need to exploit that as much as possible. And that being just playing hyper aggressively and forcing him to chug as much regen as possible while he's still weak, but also taking the farm that is safer for you to take by nature of him being weak. So like right here, what's Axe going to do? He already cast his Battle Hunger, but I'd say even if he didn't cast his Battle Hunger, what is he going to do? Cast it on you right here while there's creeps low right in front of you? No, he's not. And Jakiro, even if he fire waves you, I'm still not really too concerned for dying before Axe gets spin, right? So right here, he leveled Battle Hunger. He doesn't have any kill threat on you. Like, these two don't have any kill threat on you with the nature of the lane being right here. And watch this. You walk away from these two creeps for what I see as no reason at all. And now here, as soon as Axe hits level 2, by nature of you not harassing him as much as you could have been, and by nature of him hitting level 2, he's going to be full life upon hitting level 2, where then he's going to be in a position to play even more aggressively on you, which will inhibit your ability to farm even more.
Beast bomb.
I have solid intelligence.
And I'm not gonna lie, so like going back to the other game, like there's two frameworks you have to look into it by. Yes, anything that happened before in the game is going to influence the game that you're playing now. Like if you start out bad, the game's gonna be harder. But at the same time, this is something that I've had to challenge myself a lot to do, is you always, at any point in the game, just have to take a snapshot of the game, how it is right now, and you have to ask yourself, what's the best thing I could do? But we have to take into account, you didn't play aggressively while the Axe was weak. So he's going to be hitting his power spike with full life, right? You should have been getting the farm while you could get the farm safely before he got strong, and also wearing him down while he was still weak. So when he hit his power spike, he would still be weak by being either low on resources or just low on life in general, right? But neither of those things happen. So now you're going to have to, play the lane from this point on with the fact that Axe is going to be strong and Jakir's going to be strong, and this is going to be just a much, much harder lane because of it, right? And you also have a Cuddle griefing you and just blasting your wave, and he's not pulling. But while we could always argue this is bad, I could say we could also argue this, in a lot of ways, a boon for the lane. So with Cuddle just recklessly nuking the wave over and over again, taking your farm, arguably, that's bad, but we have to take it for what it is. On the positive side, though, by nature of Cuddle blasting the wave, that is pushing the wave into their tower, right? So what does that mean? If the wave is being pushed into their tower, that's going to make coming over here and pulling this wave, almost, one, most likely safe, and especially in this bracket, completely uncontested. Now, they do have an observer ward here, and honestly, if I were in this bracket, even as a carry, I'd be buying a sentry ward to make sure this is always dewarded to ensure I could always pull. But regardless, you do have a creep camp here. So by nature of Cuddle blasting the wave, nuking the wave, and pushing it forward, even though this should be his job, since he's obviously not going to do it because he's a Guardian support, you're going to have to come over here and pull this wave for yourself. And you don't even really have to farm this, per se. You just want to come over here, pull it, and get the last hits until the creep wave starts approaching your tower, and you want to make your way back underneath your tower before any of the creeps die to the tower. Now, that's the best thing you could do is, deward this, make sure you always have this creep camp available, then pull for yourself to make sure the creep wave is always going to be beneath your tower. Now, granted, you're probably going to be farming underneath your tower, but in the case of having a crappy support and opponents that have really strong heroes during the laning phase, and on top of you not playing playing the laning phase well, farming underneath your tower, while typically quote-unquote bad, is going to be the best thing for you in this circumstance. But obviously, by nature of you losing this game really going horribly, I know you're not going to be doing those sorts of things, so I don't know if I want to add too much more commentary to the laning phase at this point. So I might go to the mid-game here in a second, but those are some things that I'm thinking about. See, like you're here trying to dick around, trying to farm this, and you're probably getting mad. You're probably getting mad at you. Ping, 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 ping. Cuddle sucks. Ping, 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 ping. Oh my God, you're feeding, you're pushing the wave, you're doing everything bad. But look at what you're doing. Look what you're doing. You're literally running into a wave, thinking you're gonna get farm. When obviously, I obviously know right now, and I'm sure in this game you know that you can't get farm, and you're frustrated, like, oh, I can't get farm. My Cuddle sucks. But honestly, you're the one running in here and taking all this damage, right? You shouldn't be here. Like bad. Honestly, don't be here. Walk your little 2C, boop, boop, boop. Walk over here, come here, boom. Pull this, right? Pull this, get your creep wave underneath your tower, and you wouldn't be finding yourself in just these horrible predicaments like you're finding yourself in now. Like, you're dead. You're literally dead because you ran here I think you and I both know you weren't going to accomplish literally anything. So yeah, so identify when your opponents are weak in lane, and in the case of Jakiro, Axe are progressively going to get stronger as the lane goes on, but specifically they are at their weakest at level 1. Me going into this lane, I would go into this lane identifying they're going to be weak level 1. I need to get as much farm as possible when we're all level 1, and wear that Axe down as much as possible, so when he does hit his power spike at level 2, he's out of regeneration and low on life, so he can't play aggressively once he wants to start playing aggressively. And then, beyond that, once they are strong and once approaching the lane is dangerous and difficult, at that point, you need to start playing more, basically start supporting yourself and not be here and dick around where we both know you're going to die. Instead, be here, pull this wave for yourself, and basically you are going to have to make sure the wave's in front of your tower yourself, because going into a Guardian 2 game, we cannot rely on this Coddle doing anything, right? And also, in the case of this game specifically, with this Coddle pushing the wave and arguably, stealing your farm, but that's just the way it is. With Coddle just recklessly nuking the wave over and over again, that is going to push the wave, and instead of saying, oh, Coddle's so bad, grief, rage, doing nothing productive, you can think to yourself, okay, he's playing like dog shit, but he is pushing the wave, and that's going to allow me to go over here and pull this wave for myself safely and most likely uncontested. So with that in mind, let's kind of breeze past this laning phase as we go into the mid game. And by me fast forwarding like this, I was basically just waiting for the first rotation, and once I saw the first rotation on the map, for me that's the clue. Okay, the laning phase is coming to an end. And the mid game has kind of started. So here we are. Rotation happened. We're kind of in the mid game. Let's see what you do.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Dire's top tower is under attack. Killing spree.
So you TP'd away. That's probably fine. You would have died otherwise. The wave was underneath your tower bottom, or maybe not underneath your tower, but you have a core that doesn't really want to fight bottom, and you have a core that definitely doesn't want to fight mid. Okay, so you TP'd mid, now you're in the jungle. If I were you, obviously yes, you TP'd out, you need to TP out, but I would have TP'd back to base most likely, because I realized my Drought's gonna farm, my DK's gonna farm. I still need to play top, but I'm probably going to be jungling, right? And now you're going into the jungle with a quarter life, and you can't really jungle at this point, right? So at this point, you almost have to fly a salve out for yourself, but I think in a perfect world, you just would TP back to base, and then you could have come to the jungle on full life. Now, one second. Ooh, need some water there. Now the second thing, something I'm thinking about as far as like my holistic game plan as the carry is, I have to ask myself, what role am I going to be playing in the game, right? And this is some more like, I guess this is more like advanced understanding of Dota, right? But there are positions and then there are roles. And for the longest time, these two things were kind of looked at as synonymous, one and the same thing, right? But at this day and age of Dota, as gameplay has become more advanced and more complicated, these are two very distinct things. Positions are just where you start. This is where you start, right? The quote-unquote carry goes to the safe lane. The mid goes to the mid lane. The off lane goes to the off lane, right? However, while positions are always just stagnant, they don't change, your role in the game does change. And roles can be looked at as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And 1, 2, 3 being the cores, 4, 5 being supports. Going into this game, I'm looking at my team. I see I have a Dragon Knight off lane, Drow mid. Now when I see things, something like a Drow mid, like an Alchemist mid, like a Medusa mid, the fact of the matter is that mid is going, mids like those are going to want to farm and not make space for you. So by nature of you having a farming mid, just the fact of the matter is, whether you like it or not, that mid is position 1. That mid is going to be farming and just taking, not creating space, but taking space with their farm. By nature of that alone, you're going to have to change your approach to the game and identify, okay, this Drow is going to be farming. They're the position 1. And by nature of that, you are going to play more of a position 2. You're going to have to play more of a mid role and mid-like behaviors from the safe lane, from the carry position, because your mid, just by nature of the heroes, or the hero that they picked, they're going to be playing the 1, prioritizing farm, and taking space with farm. So, in this game, I'm not offended by power trades. Power trades are fine, but you, as a PA, whether you like it or not, are going to have to fight and just buy fighting items. I'm not going to lie, I would probably get a second Wraith Band and then go into like the Treads or Phase Boots, and honestly, you're going to have a bad game because you already screwed your lane, and you're going to have a bad game, but whether you like it or not, you have to just fight. You have to fight here. You have to fight and make space and make room for Drow to get her items because she's the one, and by nature of that alone, you are now delineating to the 2. So yeah, this is all fine. So by nature of how the game is playing right now, like DK's down here just doing DK things. You know, he's defending this tower. Drow is farming triangle and coming back mid when the wave is pushing in. That's fine. And by nature of that, now your responsibility this game is to also farm jungle. But once Jakiro and Axe, or the just the creep wave, once the creep wave pushes into your tower, it's your job to come over here, dagger one of the creeps, and pull those creeps away from your tower and farm those, right? And maybe if Jakiro's right here, Axe is right here, they're pushing this tower, you dagger a creep to pull the creep wave off, they're probably going to follow that creep wave through the tower. But just by nature of you dragging those creeps off, that's going to stop their push because you want to keep this tower alive as long as possible because you will lose a significant amount of map control as soon as this tower dies. And by nature of the fact that your team is going to be complete dog crap until y'all get farming items, preserving that space and preserving that map control is going to be especially important for you. So I would say this tower is your tip-top priority, and you should probably be okay with potentially dying just to pull the creeps away from the tower to slow down the siege of this tower as much as possible. However, with that in mind, what I can see happening is you just sitting here farming jungle, not really giving a hoot about what's going on over here, and you losing this tower, losing mid, is basically the entire just game collapsing in on it, in on itself, right? Now, granted, your team composition is crap. You have no cores that want to fight. Their team's very fight-oriented, very fight-oriented. So, like, a snowball effect was kind of imminent, right? That sucks. However, I think that just by nature, you playing your lane better. Like, if you would have won your lane, frankly, that could have put you in a position where you're stronger in the mid game, and then you could fight. But by nature of you kind of getting completely clobbered in your lane, now you don't have the levels and you don't have the items to fight yourself. At this point, literally, nobody on your team can address the pressure that they're imminently going to be putting on the map. So I'll probably stay in this replay to see maybe the first couple of fights, if there are any fights. But I think, kind of like the last game, in a lot of ways, the game ended with the laning phase. I think this game is going to be significantly difficult, like incredibly difficult to win at this point. Because I think I would have looked at both teams and identified exactly what both teams' game plans are going to be like. This is literally a Tusk safe lane carry. OD mid, Axe off lane. Like, these are heroes that don't really scale very well into the, later in the game, right?
Blade in your
So
guts.
I'd be going into this game realizing like I've got to play aggressively. I've got to win my, play my lane well, win my lane, be strong, get items, get experience, and be a force on the map because my other cores literally aren't going to be forces on the map, right? I think even during the laning phase itself, that probably means potentially flying myself out more tangos and a south, that additional region, and literally buying maybe 2, maybe 3 Wraith Bands before boots to make sure that I could stand up and potentially man fight this Axe and this Jakiro. But I think that you came into this lane thinking I'm the carry, I'm going to play like a carry, in a draft that, granted, is dog shit, but in a draft where you aren't the carry. I mean, the way this game is kind of playing out, Dragon Knight's just farming, Drow's just farming, you're just farming, you're all trying to, you basically have 3 carries on the team. And even in Guardian, that's not going to go unpunished. See, now right here, I guess maybe not right here, but... Hold on.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah. Where do you think you do? What do you think? So here you are, and you TP bottom.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Honestly, I don't think I'm even gonna watch team fights and really do more of this game because I don't even know if there's gonna be any team fights, quite frankly. Because I think y'all are in a position where you objectively can't do anything. Like if you're TPing away from a solo Axe, then this game's just over. So, I think with this game, here are the big takeaways. One of the big parts of developing a game plan when you're trying to play a core role is looking at the composition and asking yourself, what core positions are going to play what core roles? In this case, you are going to play more as a position 2. And thankfully, being a PA, you do have the option to build more aggressive builds. If you're an anti-mage, you can't really build quote-unquote early fight, right? But with the nature of PA, you do have that option. It's not great, not the best, but you do have the option to build more, powerful early right-click, right? And fight earlier. I think you have to look at your team composition, ask yourself, what core positions are going to be playing what core roles? Identify what core role you're going to be playing. That's one thing. The second thing is look at your lane composition and, or the lane composition of both what you and your support are and what the enemy core and what their support is, and identify when are you and your core strong and when are your opponents weak, and to exploit that as much as possible. You played passively when Axe was at his weakest, and then you really couldn't do anything once Axe got strong. And you also have to identify, if you are playing carry or safe lane, in the Guardian bracket, your support isn't going to pull, and you're probably going to have to pull yourself, right? So I think the 3 takeaways are identify what actual role you're going to be playing in your core position from the get-go. Identify when your opponents are weak and strong, and when you and your support are weak and strong, and to exploit those differences as much as possible. And then 2, just understand that to rank up, you're going to have to take on the responsibilities of multiple roles. And a lot of the times, as the carry in the Guardian bracket, that means pulling for yourself to ensure that the creep wave always stays in your power pocket. I think I might do one more replay just for thoroughness. But with that, I think those are all the things that let this game escalate the way it did. And we'll just go on to the next one.